Welcome to the Dear World Podcast, the place where if you drink your water and you mind your business, you'll be just fine. I'm your host, Miss Amber J. We're all family here, so nothing is off limits. New episodes air every Tuesday at midnight. Do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. Don't forget to turn on your notifications so that you will be alerted whenever a new episode has been posted. Did y'all miss me or not? Welcome officially to season 4 of the Dear World Podcast. This is the very first episode of season 4. To my returning listeners, of course, welcome back. To my new listeners, welcome. I hope that you guys enjoy your listening experience. Before we jump into the episode, let me get my bullshit off. Let me get a couple of housekeeping things out of the way. First and foremost, I definitely have my drink. So if you hear me rattling my ice, excuse me, but I have a lot to say today. So I have to keep my whistle wet. Second thing, I just want you guys to remember why you're doing what you're doing. Sometimes I feel like we get exhausted. We don't feel like doing certain things when it comes to working our plans or putting forth effort. So I think it's very important to just take a second and step back and remember why you're doing what it is that you're doing. Same thing with me with the podcast. Sometimes I just get exhausted. I don't feel like recording. At times I just don't know what to talk about or how to frame my words. And I just have to take a second to step back and remember why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I just wanted to drop that little nugget of information for you guys. Other thing, please rate this podcast in whatever app you're using. You can go directly to your app store and rate it, whether it's Android or Apple. I would greatly appreciate it. Last thing, and I wasn't going to mention this at all, but I find it necessary to do so. With the coronavirus going around, please do not allow fear to motivate you, and please do not allow your fear to make you lose sight of your faith. I know it's a scary time. I know things are uncertain. I know a lot of people are out of work right now, but everything is going to be okay. We can only take it one day at a time, and just remember that today is enough to worry about. You cannot worry about tomorrow, next week, and the week after that. Today is literally enough to worry about. And like Kendrick Lamar said, we gonna be all right. Lately, I have really felt bogged down by the redundancy of my job. And don't get me wrong, my job is fulfilling in a sense of fulfilling that purpose or passion within me to help others. However, I find myself getting bored frequently. There's a lot of downtime. I get irritated a lot, and it just doesn't intrigue me anymore. I know that I have reached my maximum growth within my position, and it definitely is time to move on. But sometimes I struggle with what my next move is and what I'm actually supposed to do in life. I know that my purpose in life is to help other people, but I struggle finding the balance of how to help people within a certain capacity, if that makes sense. I also know that writing is one of my gifts, but I don't know how I'm supposed to utilize that gift in order to not only maximize my purpose, but also to fulfill things within myself as far as my interests and things that make me happy. I ended up taking an interest assessment. And for those of you who don't know what an interest assessment is, it basically helps you identify careers that meet your interests. The interest assessment usually asks a series of questions based on things that you would like to do and not like to do. For example, it might ask you, do you like to build cabinets? And there's like extremely dislike, unsure, extremely like. So based on whether or not you like to build cabinets, you answer the question and go to the next one. The next one might be, do you like or would you like to help find cures for diseases and things like that? Do you like to write plays and musicals or whatever the questions may be? And it's gauging your interest based off of these questions. Okay, so after you take the interest assessment, it'll give you a score, and it's rated basically by different categories. It's called an RIASEC, which is an acronym for realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. Now, I always rate highest in artistic and social. And basically, artistic people like to work in unstructured situations using their imagination and creativity. At home and work, you may be creative, imaginative, unconventional, expressive, innovative, and impulsive. Like to work on crafts, take photos, attend concerts, art exhibits and plays, or enjoy reading fiction. Be able to sing, play an instrument, act or dance, draw or paint, create designs, write stories, poetry, and music. And then social people like to work with people to inspire, inform, help train, or cure them. At work and home, you may be patient, insightful, responsible, cooperative, outgoing, and skilled with words. Like to work in groups, volunteer, solve personal problems, or serve your community. Be able to teach others, mediate disputes, lead a discussion, communicate well, or plan and supervise activities. Now, for me, this is accurate. So then once you actually read what your results are, it'll give you a list of careers based on those results that best match with your interests. It typically tells you the career, the outlook of the career, the hourly wage, and then the education that it takes for those specific careers. If you are interested in taking the career assessment, you can go to careeronestop.org. There's a toolkit button. Hit the toolkit button and then go to careers, and then right under careers, you'll see interest assessment. Just answer the questions and then review your results and see how closely it matches you with actual careers of your interest. For me, taking the interest assessment shed light on the fact that I am not living up to my authentic self. There is a thing, authentic self versus fictional self. Authentic self is basically doing what you want to do and living up to the best version of yourself. Fictional self is kind of doing what is expected of you, falling into line with society. After kind of getting lost in my own head, I came to the realization that the bulk of my unhappiness when it comes to life, my place of employment, and other things is because I am not living up to my authentic self. I'm not doing something that actually makes me happy, that makes me feel fulfilled. Those of you who are frequent listeners of the Dear World podcast know that I love to use articles to support my point. I did stumble across this website, mindful.org. It is about healthy minds, healthy lifestyles. This article, 4 Questions to Foster Your Authentic Self by Carly Hawk. And you know I pronounce a lot of things wrong, so I probably butcher her last name. My apologies. But I love this quote that she posted by Brene Brown. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we actually are. I am going to say that again because I love it so much. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we actually are. I really have to go over this article with y'all because it is some good shit in here, okay? So, choosing authenticity means cultivating the ability to be imperfect, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, and setting boundaries. One thing that definitely stood out to me in this article is discomfort over discontentment. My babies, I don't know if y'all know how powerful and how impactful that is. Discomfort over discontentment. That means get off your ass and allow yourself to be uncomfortable in order to be ultimately happy at the end of the day. Because guess what? These jobs, these 9-to-5 jobs, that's a comfort zone because we have to stick within the realms of our duties. We know what to expect. It's redundant. It's mundane. However, if you were to go out and chase your dreams or to start your business or to put yourself out there on a creative limb, that's uncomfortable. That's scary. But it's also necessary because what? Discomfort over discontentment. This is also something that limits me or prevents me from living up to my authentic self. I belittle myself a lot. And sometimes I worry too much about whether or not people will love or like certain parts of me. Hey you, are you looking to make a podcast but don't know how to get started? Anchor is the easiest way. First and foremost, my favorite part is free $99. That's right, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or PC so that it sounds great. Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. And this is a reminder to both myself and y'all. And I said this in another episode. You definitely have to have the courage to be disliked. And that's a big part of authenticity. Being yourself regardless of who likes you and who doesn't like you. Staying true to your values and your worth and what you stand for. Now, going back to the article, it lists 8 ways to be true to yourself. Number 1, maintain alignment between what you feel and need and what you say and do. Number 2, make value-based choices while taking into account intuition, research, and the bigger picture. 3, do something each day that reflects your deepest needs, wishes, and values. 4, speak up for yourself and ask for what you want. 5, don't put up with abuse of any kind. 6, give up designing your behavior by the desire to be liked. Be imperfectly perfect in yourself. 7, state and maintain your boundaries, especially about the level of energy you can handle being around or taking in. 8, offer your fear-loving kindness and compassion. Another powerful sentence from the article that really stuck out to me, y'all, was we can be true to our own personality, spirit, or character despite external pressures. One of the things that's hardest for me when it comes to being my authentic self is I cling to what's familiar and I don't like being uncomfortable. So I cling to familiar places. I cling to familiar people. I cling to familiar situations. And in order for me to fully be my authentic self, I have to allow myself to be uncomfortable. I have to allow myself to kind of, what's the best way to put it? To disconnect from situations and people in order to maximize on my growth, in order to break free of that mentality that I have to do what is expected of me, because I have to be able to be comfortable with being uncomfortable to ultimately be comfortable, if that makes sense. And I've realized that I control my narrative, but at the same time, I don't have to try to preserve or protect every version of myself because I'm constantly learning, growing, and evolving. One thing that I've definitely grown to understand from all of this is that it is better to be at odds with outside forces than to be at odds internally. I hope that I'm making sense and I'm not just rambling, but in the end, I want everyone to live up to their authentic self and not the fictional version of themselves, not the version of themselves that is expected by society. Do what you want to do. Live your life and live it on your own terms. Do what makes you happy and live up to your greatest potential. And because I love the quote by Brene Brown so much, that is how we are going to end this episode. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we actually are. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Dear World. Again, I'm your host, Miss Amber J. If you enjoyed your listening experience, don't forget to rate this podcast and share it with your family and friends. As always, drink your water, mind your business.